welcome back to Teacher Quit Talk. We missed you.
We missed you so much, but you're going to really enjoy who we found. Well, redacted found. I didn't find.
Well, really, our last episode with State Senator Jones, he referenced an organization called Connecting the Dots that is in his district that I'm sure they will do a better job explaining what they do than I do, but it kind of, from what he said, seems like parents who are really focused on the education issues in their area who are acting as parents. And we have a lot of teachers on this podcast, but I thought it was really cool once I heard about you guys and snooped around on your Facebook page. So I will let you all introduce yourselves, kind of tell us what is Connecting the Dots and who are you?
All right. Well, I'll go first. My name is Ashley Johnson, and I am a parent. I work in education as well. I used to be a classroom teacher. It's the only career I've ever had in my life, so I've only worked in education my entire career. But Connecting the Dots is it's a Facebook page. And it is a page where we try to just get out information that the district probably won't share and the things that they try to keep behind closed doors. So it's really a page, but I guess some might call it a movement from the stance of that we are just trying to, it's all about kind of like a watchdog and transparency. That's really what it's about. Really. And of course we have as a page, the folks that run the page, we have what we feel as though should happen. So we are calling for the board to resign, to just start fresh, start clean, because it's just a lot of mess. It's a lot of mess. And when it's that much mess, just removing one or two people is not gonna kind of like clean it up. You gotta like start from scratch. So it's nothing personal. I have had multiple conversations with my board rep, and she's a very nice woman. I don't think that she's nasty or mean at all. She's very, very nice. But we just feel as though, well, I will feel as though, I'll say, speak for myself, that when it's this much yuck and ick, you just need to just start all over again. So this is nothing personal against anybody. I don't dislike anybody because nobody's done anything to me personally. But yeah, Connecting the Dots is just a page that I started after Dr. Horton's indictment, which was the former superintendent of DeKalb County School District. And we kind of already got the vibe that the district was not going to take any responsibility or take any accountability for the process of selecting him, and knowing that he had some dirt on his jacket. He had some things. He wasn't the cleanest finalist. So because the things that he did prior in his past, they caught up to him, and the board was aware of these things, and they still proceeded with him. So we knew that they were just not going to take responsibility for probably not selecting the best candidate. Um, so the page I created to just kind of show like, no, you guys knew.
Yeah.
You guys knew,
Like,
you know that he had a past. And so that was the inspiration behind the page. But of course, like my neighbor and fellow parent, Jeanette, will share that it started with some issues that started at our local school. And from there, it just kind of grew into, because we know that the schools are attached to the district and they don't work
yeah.
in silos, they don't work in isolation. And so basically those issues were connected to the district at large. And so that's kind of like where this feistiness comes from. It comes from dealing with issues at our local school. So that is Connecting the Dots. It is a very, what is considered autonomous, meaning that there's no hierarchy, there's no board, there's no chair, there's no founder, there's nothing like that. It's very autonomous from the stance of it's myself and two other parents that help me run the page. But it's not like a legit organization, I'll say. It's just more like a movement and idea.
I
So
think it's
I'm obsessed.
more legit than many organizations that have offices and titles and
Trust me.
full-time staff. It seems like yours was created for a genuine purpose, so
Yeah.
that would make it legit to me. So how did you and Jeanette get connected?
There's trauma bonds, so trauma bond is a real thing. Like there is community amongst those who go through trauma and just nonsense all at the same time. And so I won't say that I have suffered or endured the amount of nonsense that Jeanette has, but I served on the school's council, and it's a 2-year term, and so I served my 2 years. I rolled off this year. I did not because it's just that's a whole nother story. But basically there was a situation that happened where the principal, they are not the principal currently. Now they work at the central office now. They removed
Shocker.
the central office. I know, shock, right? Like that's just the name of the game. But the principal there, she kind of from what we could tell, coordinated like a smear campaign against parents, that there was like some bad blood, or just I don't want to say bad blood, but there was her and another in a sector of parents just could not get on the same bench and did not agree. And I'm using my
Mm.
very, very nicely. But it kind of came to a fever pitch at a night where there were things said about parents in regards to financial malfeasance. That was the term that was utilized. Because again, that would be a whole nother podcast series as to how we even got to that point. Why are we saying that parents committed financial malfeasance? But basically, uh the facts that were presented to the public in this council meeting, and then it rolled into a parent teacher organization meeting or a PTO meeting, were false. They were false.
So the principal's stance was essentially like the PTA is laundering money or like embezzling money or being
Well, the
financially
PTO.
sketchy. So tell us a little bit about how you two came to trauma bond together.
Yes, we call it the trauma tribe. So I am Jeanette. I am a parent at the school. My son was going there. He started in kindergarten, so during COVID, and then we went back when he was in first grade. And what we noticed, several other parents, right? At that point, I entered this school with my son, and we didn't really know many of the parents in the community. We didn't really know the folks at the school. So all I knew was how we started entering the school. And it was really obvious that there was this like veil of COVID's not going to let you guys back in. And
Interesting.
that's the reason I'm going to use to not allow you all to come back into the school building. And so you
Mm.
started to kind of see walls being built to not allow parents to come in. And it was
Mhm.
this veil of it's security purposes, it's for health purposes. While other schools in the same general area were allowing parents to come back in, and it wasn't an issue. Then, as we got further along, I started to realize only specific parents were allowed to enter back into the school. And so this is where I started saying, okay, there's like some discrimination that's happening. And why are certain parents allowed and not others? So my view, because Ashley did mention there's a third parent. So
Mhm.
I wasn't one of the parents that was mentioned in the malfeasance. Unfortunately, my path was a little different. It was more in discrimination towards my son,
Mm.
and then discrimination towards me. And it got to the point where I was worried that something was going to happen to my son, and like he was going to be impacted and retaliated against. So we go from me not being allowed to the school every time I would go in because I was a volunteer. So I'm a full-time parent. I
Mhm.
also am a leader in the Cub Scouts. I work well in my community. That's how I got to know more parents.
Like
Um,
any principal should be like, yes, please come.
and
Like, please.
That's also freaking crazy. I'll try to not cuss on the episode because we have guests. That is insane. Like, I have 3 kids. If you tell me that I can't come into the freaking school, are you on drugs? Like, I'm sorry. That makes me so suspicious.
it makes me so angry too because
It's
it's like,
so
what are you
angry.
covering up?
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
it like
Why
activates
don't you
the
want me to
primal
see?
instinct in me of like, I need to get in there and see what you're doing because now you really pissed me off.
Right.
Anyways,
Exactly. I
Exactly.
feel it. I feel
love
all
you
those
guys. I'm
statements.
just like amazing.
And it just came down to the fact that, we were going in there, we were all volunteering. It was usually the same parents that were volunteering, but those same parents that were volunteering were not the ones that were allowed to do things. Let me repeat
Mm.
that. The parents that were engaged and volunteering and spending their money and their time at the school were the ones that are being monitored and not allowed to go into the school when they needed.
That's sick.
That's like very, very defensive behavior too. That's like, because not that it would be okay, but if it was like a hesitation towards all parents or anything, like maybe I can kind of try and see where you're coming from.
Right.
But for like a parent being engaged, for you as an administrator, for you to get defensive and that be a red flag, that says a lot about your beliefs in yourself as a professional. Because like I have taught for 5 years and my stance always has been like, if a parent wants to come sit in class, come sit in class. Like I'm an open book. Like I don't
Correct.
come see. Like
Correct.
so
Correct.
for you to have like in my eyes, like a dream parent, someone who has like the time and flexibility to come be a community member and be supportive, to be pushing that person away is like very indicative of maybe some not great vibes.
Correct. And so what would happen is we would have meetings where, like we have an open meetings act. And so my first meeting in that council that Ashley was a part of, before Ashley joined, was the leader that was there that was called himself a community member. Later, we found out he was a husband to one of the teachers within the school. Was the one that told us that we could not record in the meeting. I'm a first-time parent. It's the first time I'm doing this. I didn't know any different. Later to find out that was not true, and his abrasiveness was for nothing, right? He was just it was a scare tactic. So fast forward to, we had a PTO in the school,
Yes.
but the PTO was not real. So we were all under this veil of, we have this PTO.
Yes.
Maybe
Not
the
real.
PTO is the friends we made along the way.
What the fuck? So they were like, yeah, we have one of those.
We have
They're like,
one.
yeah,
And
you
if you
just
read-
missed them. They
Yep.
were just here.
And if you read the bylaws, the principal owned everything. So she
Shut
got to,
up.
I have them. Oh, yeah, because we
Anything
kept
about
all
this,
the
I'm
receipts,
like-
right? This is crazy.
Mhm.
She can pick all of the parents and teachers that would be on the board. She can select the chair. She was the only one that could tell you where the funds would be spent.
Correct.
And if you wanted to spend money, you had to put in a reimbursement form, but they never gave you the reimbursement form.
There's not even a PTO.
No, and the PTO didn't have their own account.
Cha-ching.
Their account was
Correct.
managed under her principal discretionary account.
Correct.
And
that
those
we-
are two
that we didn't get reports on.
very different accounts. And do you know
Oh.
if this was just at your local school or if those bylaws exist
It
in
was
other
just at our local school.
that makes it even if it was everyone, it would be bad. But
You don't piss off moms. This is what happens when you tell a mother that she can't go into the school where her babies are, where she's volunteering. Oh, you could have had your freaking secret PTO.
Right, now I have
and
time to
your
look.
Sweet
You're
checks
like,
right into your bank
now
account.
that you're not letting me help with phonics time, I'm in your bank account.
Right.
Yeah, guess what? You can't embezzle money anymore because you told me that I can't come to school. And now, like, what the hell?
Yeah. That. Yes. So the look of shock that you all have is the look of shock that everybody gives when this story is shared, just from like, because you can't, if you just start from like just that night where
Mhm.
like the fever, like where it all crescendoed,
Mhm.
you'd have to go back years and years and years to the origination of the old school building and the endowment account and it being a charter. You have to start there
Oh.
in order for everything to make sense. It had like the context is so important. So it wasn't like, oh, we just decided to put the money in the PD or the principal discretionary account. That's not how it happened. And like I said, just to be mindful of time, that would be another episode, to be honest with you, to go back, and we would have to
And
have
it might be.
other
Might be.
individuals on.
We
to
have
be
time.
honest with you, because it's all what led to that night where what we were told, what I was told in an email was Dr. Horton, when he was then the superintendent, that they had a third party commission this investigation. So it was a third party investigation.
The investigation about the PTO and the principal and all that.
About the account, because there were allegations made about mismanagement of funds.
Got it.
The third, it gets real sticky.
Well, I also think even without getting into the details of the history, it goes to show that because this was so long, that this would not happen in a district that was keeping an eye on these things and had clear policies and clear procedures and all these things. Like, it's not like it's a fluke that this happened in the district where there's like Senator Jones was telling us, and DeKalb, they had, what was it, like 15 years ago, the state ousted the entire board, and now their more recent superintendent. Like, it's not a coincidence that all these things are happening. It really
Correct.
points to the bigger issue of a lack of ethical management,
Yes.
really.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yes.
It is the way of doing business. So from based off of the things that I know that I haven't even like shared on the page yet,
Mm-hmm.
it's really corrupt. Like there's no
Yes.
other way. Like I call central office, I call it the Death Star. So if you guys are familiar with Star Wars, it's like the Death Star, and it's ran by a bunch of Sith Lords. It's really the truth. Like it's ran by a bunch of people that it's ran by, I'll say it like this, because I don't want anybody to feel as though, oh, if I work at central office, I'm like that. Because I've met and spoken with and congregated with people that are really doing great work there. And they have the best interest of the children, of the teachers, of the staff of DeKalb County. But there is a group, and that's the thing that, like, me and my sister, we were having a conversation, is that corruption is so insidious, right? It becomes
Yes.
the culture and the fabric of the organization, and all it takes is for one person to be corrupt, because then it spreads like a virus, and it's really
Yes.
hard to annihilate. That's why you have to start from scratch. That's why our message is to the boards got to go. We're talking about zero basing. When I taught, my school was zero based, and it was zero based. This was like my first or second year of teaching. So what did they do first? They started with the principal. Principal had to reapply for his job, then the AP, now the teachers, now the parents. It's a trickle down. You have to start from the top of the helm, and the top of the helm is the board. So the board has to go again. And I come from the stance of, if you feel like you were doing good work and your constituents love you, then run again.
Yeah. Then,
Run
like, why are
again.
you scared?
Right. Why are you scared? Run again. And then may the best man win. And maybe you'll probably run unopposed, because that's another issue, right? When we get into board elections,
God.
is that they run unopposed, and it's a lot of
Yeah.
incumbents, and they stay and they stay and they
Mhm.
stay. And I'm not sure about Georgia laws when it comes to how term limits when it comes to board seats, but that's a
Probably
lot
none.
too. So it also trickles down into your constituents and how engaged they are. So we have to own some of
Yeah.
that too, right?
And I have
It's really
noticed,
layered. It's
and
very, very layered.
Faraz has kind of spoken on this too, that a lot of these local elections in a way happen in secret. Like, they're running
Mhm.
incumbent and they don't campaign.
Correct.
Like, they're not, it's a purposely kept quiet election. So I think
Correct.
bringing more attention to those elections.
Right.
And so, like you were saying, with the district and all of that, what else have you all seen in your organization? Because I'm sure, like, you all started talking about this within your local school, but like you mentioned, this is not a fluke. This is not our specific school issue. What other kinds of things have you noticed in the district, and what have people been sending you?
Well, I will start off with saying that we'll get people that will message the page and say, I got something to tell you, I got something to share. And we're like, okay, send it to our email, and we won't get an email. And that requires follow-up. Like, I mean, I've learned, like, a lot of people just don't do that. So
Yes.
it is what it is. And then sometimes we'll get stuff, and sometimes it's anonymous, sometimes it's really cryptic. And then sometimes it is like a big nothing burger. Like, it really
Yeah.
is. It's a really big nothing burger. So I'll say the most of the information that we've been able to uncover has been through ORRs. So we've
Mhm.
been able to get P card statements. We've been able to get contracts. We've been able to kind of compare looking at the board minutes and things that they approve, like, and things that are just kind of open. But again, it takes a level of consciousness and awareness to know where to go, how to find things. Because like you said, with local election, they're kind of done in secret. A person's
Mhm.
incumbent, but they don't really campaign, so you don't know. It's the same thing with how they do board meetings. Like, the board meetings are really long. They
Yeah.
are all day events. So you would have to be able to have the time to sit and watch a board meeting from 11 a.m. to almost 7 p.m. And that
Mhm.
takes a lot of endurance to do. And a lot of people don't have time to do that. And so
Yeah.
a lot of times these things are done in plain sight. But because the way the system is designed to kind of make you so that you get tired and fatigued from trying to keep track of all this stuff, a lot of it goes unnoticed and unchecked.
Mhm.
So a lot of things, like, we've been able to find are right there, literally right there in plain sight.
Mhm.
But also a lot of stuff too that we've been able to find just through Google searches. Like,
Yeah.
today I put on the page today, and it's something I looked up last week. I just went to Cook County's their clerk court office page and just typed in Devon Horton. A bunch of stuff pops up for lawsuits that he had. Banks, City of Chicago, like cash loan
Wow.
places. It's public record. And so, I
And like,
did that today. That's just the Google search. Like
say
that.
not that you're not a gorgeous, beautiful genius, but it didn't really like if you found it in a Google search, you would think a board that hires a whole selection committee
absolutely.
and does all these things. Like if you found it on a public court website, it's not exactly in hiding. What are some other like concerning things that you all have found? Like you mentioned the P cards and some meeting minutes. What's been
Yeah.
out there?
I think one of the things that has also helped us. So I was part of the 30 for Recess mom group that started here also. And that kind of gave us some connections with some of the folks, because some of those ladies are also kind of fed up, right?
Yeah.
And so we have met a few really good partners. We have our Decatur-ish partner is working with us. We
And
met. Go
When
ahead.
I looked up DeKalb County news stories before we met with Senator Jones, Decatur-ish does not let
on it.
up. Like
Yeah.
Decatur-ish is on it.
Yes, yes. And so all of these folks have started to reach out and we've just been connecting. And so, like, that connecting the dots is real, right? Like we're trying to work with all these folks that we've been meeting and trying to learn, because the way the system is set up is really set up to keep all of the parents in the community away from each other so that you don't sit and talk and
Correct.
realize that the same thing that's happening at this school is also happening at this school. And so one of the things that I think was recent, a lot of the people are worried about SAP because there is a
Yes.
rumor that there are 30 schools that are going to close and that decision is going to happen in January. And you have two big magnet schools that are really concerned about their schools closing because the SAP options are really to move those into the individual zone
Yeah.
schools.
Neighborhood schools. Yeah.
What you don't know as a parent, and what I think Connecting the Dots is doing really well, it's helping parents navigate the system. Because
Yes.
today, like, you don't even know where to look, right? So, like Ashley mentions, you could go on Google and Google all of this, but people just don't know that some of the stuff is public information. It's readily available to you, and you just have to have an opportunity to go and look and try to do it. I think Ashley and I can be PIs now after the last couple of months and our searches and how we find people and pictures and all kinds of things.
And they also don't make it super easy to find, like you mentioned. Like a lot of
No.
those records, and I have noticed this in many districts that we've looked into, DeKalb being one of them, a lot of broken links on websites, a lot of phone numbers that are
Yeah.
disconnected. Like
Yep.
it's very clear that you gotta want it to talk to somebody.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Org charts that are not updated.
Mhm.
And so, like, I reached out immediately to Dr. Norman Sauce, who was updated as the interim superintendent in place of Dr. Devon Horton.
Mhm.
And I was like, what's going to be different? Like, I don't need you to come in and just sell us H Pride all over again, because clearly it didn't work, right? I marked my
also,
status.
I think a great lesson in why you should never name anything after one person. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Because isn't
Yes.
that awkward now?
Very.
Right.
Very. I mean, even SAP is awkward because that was an initiative that he
Came
brought
from
in.
him.
So Student
Yep.
Assignment
Mm.
Project is his initiative. H Pride was another one. Miracles is another one. He was really good. He to me, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but
Say
he
it.
really had a lot of similarities to Trump. And in the sense of he was very charismatic. He was a good Well, Trump's not the best talker, but
You're
No.
in a safe
he has
space.
the ability
This
to
is the perfect place for you to
dream.
say that.
And he has the ability to capture people and sell a dream. But behind closed doors, he's really not working at the best interest of the people that he is supposed to be. And so he comes off as, just fool's gold. He's all that you thought that he was, but it's really not real at the end of the day.
I think what I noticed about Dr. Horton that I've seen in a lot of other local politicians, school leaders, is the politician of it all.
Absolutely.
And the
Exactly.
image and
Yeah.
the labeling and the group
Absolutely.
and this initiative and that initiative. And ultimately, like, coming in and doing the work in a school all day, every day is not glamorous, is not click worthy, is not a headline. It's actually like really fucking boring. Like having a quality academic initiative is boring because it's consistent and simple. And
Yes.
you having all these different things with all these different names and all these different graphics, I think to a lot of people, they look at it and see the surface of like, oh, wow, that looks like they're doing a lot. But like, you guys are parents in the schools, you're seeing like what's
Please.
happening there is not like, it's like you
Yeah.
said, it's smoke and mirrors.
It's
Right.
smoke and mirrors. It's a show. And like you
Yeah,
said,
he comes in with this
he
flashy
acted as a
suit.
politician. Like
Mhm.
even so our school, they did a rezone for a school that's in our cluster.
Mhm.
And so because that school was overcrowded. And so they alleviated that school of about 500 so students. So now our neighborhood school has about 1,000+ kids. And this was the first year. Years prior, we had about 500. So we're about 1,000, little over 1,000 students. So it was obvious the first day of school, and also mind you, the whole time, because I think they started like announcing that this was going to happen, like I would say like a year ago, basically, like let's say a year from today, it's a year ago, right? And so they would do these town hall meetings and virtual sessions and say, this is what we're planning to do. These are the different ways we're thinking about addressing the boundary lines, because the board, the authority with rezoning rests with the board. So the
Mhm.
board had to approve the zoning. It was just a matter of which way are we going to cut. And so they said, we're going to have drones and this, that, and the third, and everything's going to be smooth. First day of school, everything's going to be smooth.
The drones will ensure the children are happy and
Right.
healthy. The
Yeah.
drones will walk them to class. It's going to be the
gonna be
kids
great.
will arrive on drone. The drone is
Right.
going to pick the school bus up and take it.
Right, exactly. So needless to say, first day of school is already chaotic. It's already very
Yes.
chaotic. Now you
And to
add,
go from 500 kids to
Thank
1,000
you.
kids. And I
Yeah.
think one of the
Thank you.
most ignored and important things in a school, as someone who's worked in more than one school, is logistics. If
Oh,
you do
yes.
not have logistics, you have nothing.
Correct.
Agreed.
Exactly. That is an absolute fact. So it was madness, absolute madness the first day. And here comes Dr. Horton and crew. They come, the WSB van is pulling
Right.
up and they're getting ready to do a photo op. Why? I don't know. Not a good idea. Not this school. Now, mind you, his kids go to this school. So maybe,
Oh,
yes, he is a neighbor.
interesting.
He is a neighbor. Yes, he is a neighbor.
The
of
call is
school.
coming from inside the house.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's exactly right.
That's exactly what it is. So so Horton and crew, including our board rep, they all show up in the madness. And while parents are struggling to drop off their kids, there's a bunch of traffic because our school is off of like a state highway.
Yeah.
That road is a state highway, so it can get backed up. And it's like once you get into the community, it's like one lane on both sides. So it
Mhm.
can really bottleneck if you don't have good traffic flow. But they didn't there was no SRO there. Not one SRO to help with the flow of traffic. And you had teaching staff, and I think it was raining that day.
Yeah, it
Teaching
was.
staff out just trying to do the best that they can. And yes, he did. He showed up like a politician with his crew, with all his Chicago people and his Jefferson County people and the board and the news and that I think they did like a story or something. They didn't show that. They didn't show that because they were getting fussed out. Like we were talking to the city of Tucker people. We were talking to our board rep. We were raising some hell
We were
because I'm
frustrated.
like, this is ridiculous. Y'all knew for this whole time that these kids were coming, and they come with children. I mean, they come with parents. It's the
Like,
first day of school.
You
Of
knew when the
course the
first
parents are
day of
gonna
school
come bring-
was. Like, it's like this
You
is-
knew when it was, and
like-
you knew that this was going to be an issue. So
Well,
why
it didn't
were
get
you-
better.
So what was all this? Like, this is absolute, and then you're going to show up for a photo op? Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? So that just speaks to, again, like very again politician-y.
like the image over the actual experience of the
Correct.
people in the schools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Overdoing the real work that it takes to really like support and move the schools forward, especially DeKalb County with, like you said, the history that they've had and continue to have.
Mhm.
by choice. It is by choice that they continue to have this. So you would think that that would be the focus, but no, there's a lot of people in the schools and at central office that do not have children's best interests. They just don't. They're very for themselves.
Yeah.
And
He was
that's what
very much about perception
Absolutely.
Mhm.
instead of like really taking action, even in the school. So as Ashley mentioned, he has two kids that go to the school, even still, right? And so one of which is in my daughter's class.
God, I
And
want to take that teacher for a margarita. I know she has some shit to say.
so, I stay on him. I was the parent that parked in the lot because I knew that he was parking in front of the buses to drop his kids off.
Yep.
Because God
Yes.
forbid he stand in that long ass line that he created
That's
for
just
us.
nasty. Like,
So I drove in,
obsessed with everything here.
Do 8,000 of these episodes. Fuck this podcast. This is my podcast now. This is investigative journalism.
It really is.
And we're going to talk about how important your school board race is because what a cautionary tale.
So he's cutting buses off, and you're
He
like,
is.
surprise, here I
oh,
am.
and I'm in my very obvious pink Jeep truck.
Period.
Okay,
Period.
so I'm parked there, and I know they're all looking at me like, what is happening? So I saw him pull up because we already knew. I was like, he's pulling out at like 7:15.
Yeah.
So I had something to drop off that morning. So I dropped it off. I parked on that side, and then I waited. And then I saw him, and I saw this one teacher who is supposed to be
Yes.
teaching the kids and make sure the kids are. So in the beginning, she was standing at the door, allowing the kids from the buses. And as soon as she saw his truck, fuck those kids. They could get hit by the door. She goes straight to go take care of his kids, opens the door. She's all lovey-dovey, pulls them out. And so I waited till his kids left because it's not about his kids. It's about him and what he's not doing for our school. So I pull out, and then I was like, Dr. Horton, is this service offered to all the parents here? And he says, I have other responsibilities.
He did. Yes,
I
he
was
did.
like,
Stop. He
we
couldn't
have
even
other
like,
responsibilities.
be humble enough to make a little
Oh,
joke
no.
back. Like, he couldn't even be like, you caught me. Like,
Right.
like, at least own it. Like,
right. I shouldn't be doing that.
like, at least be like, like,
Yeah,
No. Instead, now my pink truck is on alert. So anytime my pink truck comes into that school, there are like eyes watching me. So I had to park there to drop off something at the school again, like the next day. And it was in the afternoon. It was before the buses had left. There were no buses lined up. So I go and park, I get out, I go drop off the things. Well, I guess he's the director of transportation, maybe.
Something. Be something.
Dr. Thomas. And so he's there, and they block me. So they get the two like buses that are there to pick up kids from like for a church, and they block me in. And so I'm talking to Ashley and the other parent, and I'm like, y'all, they blocked me in. This is hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna record them. So I'm sitting in the truck, and sure enough, I see them all staring at me. And so as they're staring at me, I'm waving at them like, hey.
Because, like, what do you have to hide? You're like,
I'm
my
not afraid
child
of them.
goes to this school. Like,
Right.
I'm not in the wrong right now.
I didn't do anything wrong, and I went and dropped stuff off. So I go back, I'm talking to them, and I'm like, oh my God, they're asking that cop to come see me. So there's a cop there that's helping with traffic in the afternoon. And so
Yeah.
that cop comes up, and I was like, let me let y'all go. So I put my window down, and he was like, hey, you can't be parked here. I said, did you tell that to the other people that got out? Because I saw, the SRO came and spoke to them. Everything was fine. He's like, oh, I didn't realize. I said, okay, well, I was parked here because I had to drop something off. Am I not allowed to drop anything off at the school anymore? He's like, no, that's not. I'm just making sure that. I said, well, I
they
didn't want to be
used
blocked.
him and abused him for that.
They
He probably
did. I
had
was
no
like-
idea about anything, and they're like, "Hey, go talk to that lady."
Yeah,
for
he's
us
like,
real
what's
quick.
happening right now? So I have him, I was like, well, I don't want to be here as much as you don't want me to be here. So if you can back them up, I can leave.
I get out
So
of here and get out here.
So he now proceeds to tell these buses to move so that I can exit and leave so I can go back home. In reference to cops, the previous admin did call the cops on me.
Yes.
This is why I pulled my son out of the school. I was part of the campaign to petition to get rid of her.
Correct.
So we had an online petition. I was frequently at the board we made T-shirts. We had
How
QR
long
codes.
was she principal?
She was
Ooh.
there for 8
Yeah,
years,
she was there for a
something like
while.
that.
Good amount of
Mhm.
time.
I went to different stores. We put out flyers, everything. We did it. So she was not happy with that. So she goes to my Facebook page and she saw that I had the flyer of the petition on my account page. And then for whatever reason, she decides to look at my background pictures, and my background picture, because this was around April, May 4th was right around the corner, and I had a Princess Leia shooting church pews. And she
Mhm.
said because of that, and because the article was there of the petition, that I was threatening her. And so she goes and she uses a public safety officer to calling in a threat against me.
Uh-huh.
Now, the officer calls me and he was clearly not ready. So he calls me and he's like, I just wanted to talk to you. I said, are my kids okay? He's like, oh, yeah, your kids are fine. I was like, okay, what is this about? He's like, well, the principal called from Smoke Rise. And I'm like, okay, so what about? I said, did I do anything wrong? He goes, no, actually, I told her she can't really file anything. So this is really an informational police
He
report.
literally called to be like, she's talking about you, just FYI.
He's like, I have to file it, but there's nothing I can do here. You can post whatever you want on your page. And I was like, great. I said, but
'Cause,
can I
like,
send you stuff?
That's the biggest reach I think I've ever heard. And like I'm
Absolutely.
pretty sensitive. So like if I say something's a reach, like for it to be two separate unaffiliated posts.
No, and they were not even on the same time frame, right? So like we
Yeah.
started this in April.
Correct.
And that
Mhm.
other post was in May, but it wasn't even like the two things were at the same time.
Yeah,
and
like
it
there were
wasn't
probably
like she
other
could see my
posts in
page.
between that like were
Yes, that was just a background picture, right? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he was like, no, nothing, he's like, this is nothing. And so I said, well, can I add all of my complaints that I've put in? Because this feels like retaliation to me. And I want you to document that this is retaliation in the form. And he's
Mhm.
like, yeah, send me what you have. I said, I sent him the pictures. I sent him the discrimination claims that I had filed, which there were 4. And then I also sent him, I was like, do you want the recording that I have from conversations that I've had with her? Because I have those too. And he was like, no, I'm not going to attach audio. But just keep them. And so that to me was like the kind of nail in the coffin. I'm like, I have to pull my kid out, because if she's willing
Yeah.
to do this to me, I'm still not afraid. I came in full force back
Yeah.
when she did that, because you have nothing. You're just trying to reach for things at this point. But I didn't want my son to be put into that mix of her trying to create something that
Yeah.
wasn't there.
And like so sad and so unethical that like not that if it was a private school it would be better, but the fact that this is just like your regular local public school. Like what is this, the mafia? Like
That is exactly
Well.
how it feels like it is ran. It literally
it's very
is
mafia.
like it is ran. Like when I tell you, I call it Death Star, but it's also like Gotham City. Like how Gotham City is like just so like there's so
it's
much,
always raining.
no matter
Dr.
what.
Horton was the penguin.
It's like whack-a-mole. One villain goes down, you get another one pops up. So it's like
Yeah.
it's like
Well,
possible to like manage it.
along with the Gotham allegations, that kind of reminds me of what Senator Jones told us, where he was saying that Dr. Horton, before he was indicted, had hired a ton of people from his previous
Absolutely.
district.
Yeah.
And what Senator Jones called it was a culture of loyalty
Yeah.
and wanting like zero. And it's so interesting to see how what Senator Jones was kind of talking about in the district office, how obviously it's trickling down to the experiences of parents and children, that like that corruption is not isolated.
No. And
absolutely not.
Yeah, we could see him taking, like, now that we kind of took a step back and looked at the full picture, you can see him pinpoint different admins that he wanted to take in and kind of learn the system at DeKalb, right? So that admin that we did get rid of, there was funds that were, Monopoly money playing games in the system, right? We almost felt like he took her and was like, oh, tell me what you did with these PTOs, because there's a lot of money in that. And so now all of a sudden there's this new policy that PTO is under the purview of the school district and they
Correct.
manage all of these things. And so you
Correct.
kind of see this policy that comes through. Then there's, we talked about the magnet programs, and there's something that's happening in Kittredge, and we haven't quite vetted everything out yet. But in Kittredge Magnet, there was some discussion about like the after school program being managed within the endowment, and then potentially the admins being involved in that as well. And then all of a sudden, this principal that's been doing an amazing job was pulled from Kittredge and moved into the district on October 8th, when initially she was supposed to leave later. But
Mhm.
why the 8th? The 8th is when the story came out for Dr. Horton, and the 9th was officially when he was put on leave.
And I have to assume you two weren't shocked that he
No,
was indicted.
absolutely.
But was there anything prior to that that kind of like made your ears perk up? Like, it sounds like y'all have been on him for a while. It's so interesting. I feel like the cutting off the buses says it all. Like, it's a seemingly small
Yeah.
interaction, but that
Yeah.
says so much.
Yeah, I will say, so I mean, up until this school year, I did see Dr. Horton as like not like now, like it's different.
Mhm.
And because any kind of communication that have had with him has been very pleasant, but that ties into the politician, right? So I shake hands and kiss babies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he was a parent at the school. His children are absolutely adorable. They are lovely kids. Like his son is so sweet. He has sweet, amazing children. And so it wasn't until this school year, it wasn't until the bus situation was when I was like, he's different.
Yeah.
He's different. He's not how he how he portrays himself. He is not that. And that to me, because for me it's like it just takes like I see that and I'm like, that's a person that abuses power.
Yeah.
Other people see that like, oh, what's the big deal? He's just, he's a superintendent problem. And people don't understand that that's a slippery slope. When
Yes.
one person has a lot of power, they have to be ethical, because as soon as they are not, it just takes one thing. And what they do is they figure out what they can get away with, and they go one step further each and every time.
Yeah.
Well, in this situation, it's I'm going to circumvent the school policy on dropping off my kids for school. And I'm doing it because I'm the superintendent. And that's where you get into very dangerous territory. You cannot have power unchecked. And so
Yeah.
for us, so it was a group of us that were really pissed off about that. And we raised a lot of hell about it. But then there were some other parents that are like, what's the big deal? So, but I think that's just, again, that is just how society is. Like we see it today in our mainstream politics
Mhm.
with the person who is our current president, where it's like, oh, he just said that thing. It's not a big deal. It's like, but y'all don't understand the amount of power that man has.
Yeah.
And so when he says things, they hold weight, a lot of weight, because he's leading the charge. He is the commander in chief, just like Horton was the commander in chief for DeKalb. And so that was for me when the light bulb slicked, and I was like, oh, he's not who he is. So I mean, I heard about the stuff about him with, with how he was doing business in Evanston, because the gentleman Tom Hayden, I don't know if you guys have ever followed his Substack, Foya Gras, he was tracking all that stuff. And so I read those.
Oh.
I read all those articles and everything. So I was aware of it, but I don't know. I just was like, okay, but I'm like, we're stuck with him though, because they're not firing this guy. It's like there's nothing we can do until he does something. And here we go. He's well, they don't know about DeKalb just yet. They don't know about DeKalb just yet, but they know about stuff he did in D65. And so it was kind of like, well, I guess this is what it is. And again, from my experiences with him, even down to, well, he commissioned this third party investigation. At that time, we thought it was a true third party investigation, but fast forward to maybe a month ago, we found out that was a lie. It was not third party. It was the district's law firm that did the investigation. They weren't
Wow.
third party. And he said this in an email to me, that it was a third party investigation. And so he lied to me. And so now I can see, like, hindsight's 2020. Like, okay, now I see, because now I understand who Hall Booth Smith is. Oh, they're the district's attorneys. I didn't know that until like a month ago. So these are things like, those are the things like most people, 99% of people aren't aware of, don't know. And you don't know what you don't know, right? And so now you know, and so now you're able to look at things a lot differently, and now you can kind of backtrack and look at certain certain things that he said or certain decisions that he made and see that he was not operating in good faith. Do I want to sit here, because I'm always the person, I'm objective to a fault. That is one of my flaws. I'm very, very objective to a fault. And so I don't ever paint people as all bad or all good, because that's just not how life works. There's good people that do bad things. And so this is not to say that he's a terrible human or he's a terrible husband, father, whatever, right? There were some things that he said that I agreed with. Like, I have a very principled stance on student discipline and how we treat kids and how we want to teach them good decision making before we go straight to punishment, right? Like that, those are my things. And those are things that he said and I agree with. I'm like, that's right, that's true. Like, those are things. So he wasn't all terrible, but when it came to, he just seemed like he was really like greedy, and he did things to make sure that he was in a position, because how you said Manuel Jones talked about who he picked. Horton's picks is what I call him, Horton's picks, and he surrounded himself with, and it was about loyalty. Well, that's the same thing we see in the White House. What I noticed, and this is why I say I feel like he is very I see similarities between him and Trump, because Trump surrounded himself, and there's nothing wrong with surrounding yourself with people that are loyal to you and people that you can trust. Absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. But you have to make sure that the people that you are picking are A, qualified for the job, and B, are principled and have ethics. That's what you have to do. But if you're not ethical, then you're probably not picking
Well, I
people
was
that
about to
are ethical
say,
as
to
well.
go back to what you were saying
Right.
about the skipping the line of the bus shows the views of ethics.
Right.
You don't just have
Right.
to think about what that means for yourself. If you're a leader, you're sending a message to your team
Correct.
about what behavior you view as okay and not okay.
Exactly.
So even if, let's say, the only thing was the skipping the bus line, and that's the
Right.
only thing ever wrong, even though that's not that bad, it's telling your team, hey, you can cut the line. Hey, you can
Right.
do this.
Right.
And one thing that I found when I was looking this up, and after we talked to Senator Jones and people like that, of what you were saying of Horton's picks, it seems like with a lot of different outside organizations, like the law firm and all these labels and all these new things, it seems like there was a culture of like kind of put out and then take back and just like see what sticks and what's going to work best for the people in power. So I'd kind of be curious about what else you saw that signified his greediness, or what other decisions you guys saw made that you felt were ineffective.
Yeah, I think when we go back to that investigation that we initially thought was third party, when we finally got it, so that meeting that Ashley mentioned, it was so weird because it came in, you have this principal there, you have 3 members of the district that were in that meeting
Yes.
and never stopped this conversation. So,
Yes.
you have
blatantly lie like that.
Correct.
And have
And there was-
everybody be on the same page is
Right.
very telling.
there's this document that came out that said it was from the office of Dr. Horton.
Yes.
That had all of essentially a summary of what this woman was saying in the meeting. And I was not in the meeting, but I got the copy of the document and I sent it immediately to one of the district members that was in the meeting and was like, does this belong to the office of Dr. Horton? Because I look at the document and it looks fake. Typically, a district document will have the district header. There's usually signatures. There's an
Correct.
address. It was
And it
not
usually
on
has
a
like
letterhead.
the same branding, the same
Correct.
font,
Correct.
the same
This was a-
structure.
Yeah, this was a
Correct.
gold paper that was printed on and was passed out in this meeting. Then, so I'm messaging. I finally get a response that says, no, it's not from the district's office. So Horton immediately is coming like, oh, I have no idea where this came from. But then when we do a request to get the actual presentation and a copy of the document, we're told that it belongs to the district. And I'm like, okay, but I got a message from this other district leader that tells me I need to go to the fake PTO and request the
Yes.
document. So who
Yes.
owns it? Does the
Correct.
fake PTO own it or does the district own it?
Correct.
Fast forward, we were told to ORR it.
Yeah.
So I ORR'd it, but I also ORR'd any conversation regarding that investigation report. Like who sent it to the principal in order for her to have it ahead of time and for that parent that actually presented the meeting had it ahead of time, because that parent did not do an ORR, because I also requested to see if she requested it prior to us. So someone in the
What was
district,
the process like of doing an ORR? Isn't that like the
it's just
information
a form.
request? Like you
Yeah.
just
It's a
fill out a
FOIA.
form and send it to them?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a FOIA. Yeah.
So you fill out that form, and what happens is we get a document, or we get an email where you can see Dr. Horton has sent this presentation to the admin and says, do as you deem fit. Share
Yes.
with whoever you please.
Yes.
And so to me, this was him co-signing her
Yeah.
the ability to do whatever she wanted to make
Correct.
herself look good, because at this whole point, we have been talking about her on the Facebook page, in the parent Facebook page, and she is like so pissed off that the parents
Very
are talking about
upset.
her on this Facebook
Very
page.
upset.
She
Yeah, she filed
managed,
a police report about that.
well, no, but they did block me from the district page. So I recorded it. So me and another Hispanic parent, she was constantly updating. We had, I think, an issue where there were some of the students that just gone and won a their sport trophy, right? So they
Mhm.
won, and she was supposed to be presenting them, and I think we had like a tech fair where our kids actually won something. And instead of seeing posts on the page about these events, you see a post from her receiving an accolade
Yeah.
on Sunday that weekend.
Church or something.
And if you actually look at the trophy that she received and all of that, like, she had to pay for her to get this award. It wasn't like this community decided, oh my God, she's amazing. And it wasn't in our community. It was in like a community that she lives.
It was in Macon.
And she
Interesting.
has lived, right?
On like the school post,
Correct.
Yes.
like
Correct.
not the
Correct.
kids sports, not this tech fair.
Not the
It was
tech
like
fair.
me.
It's me, and
what
I'm
is it,
amazing.
like an hour away. Like
Look at
I
me.
got an award.
Right. So I, was continuing down the trigger path, because now you've called the cops on me and I didn't do anything to you. So I went and I was like, so this is what we're spending our posts on, trying to give updates on accolades that you're receiving in another location instead of highlighting these events. So all of a sudden, my post gets deleted. And when I try to go back, I can't get in. And so I had recorded me accessing the page and me being removed from it, because now you're messing with my Fifth Amendment. Because
That's what I was about to say. Like they legally have to give you information pertinent to the school that your child goes to. Like you
Yep.
can't. Like what's next? They're gonna block you from the portal.
Right.
from Class Dojo.
From the campus
But
for
yeah,
you.
so like they did that. It was me and another Hispanic parent. Both of us went on and started posting stuff on there, and then she removed us. And she tried to blame, so we do have a media person at the school, and she tried to blame the media person. However, that media person, she forgot, was at a field day. So they had a field trip that day, and she was on the bus. Hi, sweetheart.
So it couldn't have been the media person.
it
She had an
couldn't have- no.
alibi. She was like,
Yeah.
I was on the bus.
Right.
Like no Wi-Fi on the bus. We have really old buses.
Yes. And so, like, if you look at it, they made some changes in the district when we did finally get her to get removed, but she was eventually promoted. She's now a director of organizational effectiveness, which is hilarious.
Organizational effectiveness. They couldn't even do something like data or like
No,
like
it's a made-up
the
job.
holidays. Like you're in charge of
So
the
there's,
Winterfest.
there's a story behind that job.
There is.
Okay. Zaria.
Yes. So the story behind that job is that used to be Elijah Palmer's
Correct.
title
Yes.
when he was in District 65.
Correct.
And
Oh,
Elijah
so is that their
Palmer-
little like office of like these were our best? This is where we put our
Yes.
people.
this is where we put all the people that we knew do bad work,
The people
but do
that
good
you
work.
can't, because he didn't have any classroom experience, and he didn't just if ever you can, just Google Elijah Palmer resume, DeKalb County Schools, you'll see his resume. And what you'll see is that he didn't have his master's when he didn't have his master's when he got here.
I do
So
see
they
this.
couldn't make him a chief. So they the
Say,
job
like-
he had in D65.
Even I have a master's. Like,
they gave him that same job in DeKalb, and then once he got his master's in December of 23, that's when they made him a chief in January 24. So that's
Looking
where
at
that
his
story-
resume right now, I have to say, not a fan of the font. Not really great laid out. Like, it's kind of giving nothing so far.
It's a terrible resume. I'll go ahead and say it. It's a terrible resume. Even Michelle Diller's resume, it shows that she was a principal for 10 years at some like career tech school in Christian County. But one of the parents from 30 for Recess found an article where that's not true. She was a principal for like 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so her resume is not accurate.
They love this podcast. They're like, we have things to say. We were in
Kids
the
do the
room
same
where it
thing.
happened. They were like, this is our school too.
Right.
This is crazy. I love hearing from you guys because it's very like boots on the ground journalism of the very real things happening that like this is not something that like NBC News is going to investigate. It takes the parents and honestly the moms, let's be fucking real. What are the men doing? In the community looking into it. What would you share with other parents in other areas? Like what words of advice or wisdom would you share if other parents want to do something like this? Like what is step one for them?
Yeah, just be aware of, just because someone is coming in, talk to your kids. Ask them what's happening. Ask them, are they being let outside? Is someone watching them while they're outside? What are the things that are happening in the school? Because that was, for me, the biggest thing, in addition to not the retaliation that we were worried about for my son, I was also worried he wasn't learning. Like the curriculum-based instruction was just not great at the school. So Smoke Rise was a STEM school, certified school, but in STEM, all he was doing was getting online and playing online games.
Coolmathgames.com.
Right.
That's STEM.
And like
Nailed it.
zero projects. So it's like, what are you really doing? And I feel like some of the cases, it was like these accolades for the schools were being inflated when it wasn't real. And so my son is now at a magnet program. He's at Wadsworth, and the curriculum there seems to be much better. The overall, really just the engagement with the teachers and the school is much better. And so I feel like the schools that really want the parents involved in being engaged is a good thing, and continue to do that and be there as much as you can, but talk to the other parents, because what your kid might not be dealing with, maybe somebody else is in another class, and that might start getting you to figure out what's actually happening. Ashley, do you want to add anything to that?
What I will say is be curious. Be curious, and don't always do your own investigation. Like you said, ask questions. Not everybody has been a teacher. So like, three of us on here have been, teachers. So we have a different understanding of the system at large and what happens in the buildings, right? But it doesn't take for you to be a teacher to know when something doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And if something doesn't make sense, you got to speak on it. You got to say something about it. Those are things, be engaged as much as you can, because every parent has a different capacity level. It's real. There are some parents, we are in a economic crisis. There are some parents that are struggling to make ends meet, and they are working a lot, and they're working 2-3 jobs to just provide basic needs for their kids. So they can't show up to board meetings. They can't serve on PACs. They can't be PTO or PTA parents. They can't, right? And so that's where that community becomes involved. We have to support one another. We have to be advocates for one another. But at the very least, if you are involved in your child's you have to be involved with your child's education. I don't, put that past you. You got to be involved. You got to ask questions. But that's at the very least that you could do. Now, our kind of advocacy and fierceness is very intense. So we don't expect, I know I don't expect for anybody to see things the way that I see them or do all the things that I'm doing. I'll be honest with you. Connecting the dots from that page is a lot of fun to me. It is a lot of fun. I'm nosy, and I have self-diagnosed ADHD, so I love rabbit holes. So I like starting here and then going all the way down here. So that's just me personally. But I don't expect for anybody to be that level of engaged. But at the very least, for your local school, for your local community, ask questions, show up when you can, give what you can, and connect when you can. Those are, I would say, leave it at that. Those are the small things that you can do. But at the very least, you can follow Connecting the Dots. I'm going to do shameless plug. You can follow
Plug
Connecting
it.
the Dots.
And we will link it in the episode description.
share. Look, what do they say on YouTube? Like and share, subscribe. Connecting the Dots. You can support. We've gotten a lot of good feedback from the community. They love what we're doing. So we appreciate everybody that engages with the page. We appreciate all the support, all the love. We appreciate the hate too.
Yeah.
Because if you ain't got haters, you ain't popping, right? So you gotta have hate.
And we can
So
take
we
it.
appreciate the hate too. So we
And-
love it all.
I'm so grateful that you ladies came on here with us, and I think that it's so important for people like you that have the capacity to do this, because it's not just your direct impact. You're empowering all the other parents who maybe they can't go to a 10-hour board meeting, but they can talk to their kid and they can send things to other parents and things like that. I think it's a really good example of, like, there's no wrong way to advocate, and I love the fierceness. Thank you all for coming. This was a really interesting and seemingly depressing, but honestly hopeful conversation.
Yeah, we hope for the change. And also, Connecting the Dots, the name of the page was inspired by co-defendant Antonio Ross. That was his LLC. That is where the name came from. So it's not a name that I just created out of thin air. It is
I love you, divas.
him. So shout out to Antonio Ross. You were the main inspiration. If you hear this, you were the main inspiration behind the name of the page.
Right. Come talk
and-
to us, Antonio.
And we pray that everyone involved gets the justice that
That's
they
right.
deserve
Absolutely.
from their
Justice for
previous
these
actions.
guys.
By the way, I did fly to Chicago for the
Yes, you
arraignment,
did.
but they changed it to a different date. I was there.
You're like, I'm in Chicago now. I'll be
So
living
I
here.
was interviewed, I think, by A&F that night, and I was in Chicago
that's
being
right.
interviewed.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
my God. You ladies are absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you for the invite. We loved it.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Y'all take care.